Have you ever been judged just by the way you look? Now imagine your dog going through the same thing. It sounds unfair, right? But it happens more than you might think. Picture this. A dog sitting quietly, maybe even wagging its tail, yet someone nearby sees only a scary face. Just because of that, they feel scared enough to call the police. It sounds a little crazy, but it really happened, and the story is both funny and surprising. Dogs come in all shapes and sizes. Some look big and strong, others small and fluffy. But no matter how they look, what really matters is how they behave. Unfortunately, not everyone sees it that way. Sometimes people make quick judgments. Maybe they've had a bad experience before, or maybe they just don't know much about dogs. Whatever the reason, a dog that's actually friendly can end up being misunderstood. And when fear takes over, things can get awkward. Imagine walking your dog on a sunny afternoon. Your dog might be calm, curious, or excited to explore. But then, someone sees your dog from across the street. Maybe your dog is big, or has a deep bark, or even just looks serious. That's all it takes for some people to panic. They might think, that dog looks aggressive. It could attack. And just like that, their fear turns into action. They pick up their phone and call the cops. This is what happened to one dog owner who didn't expect a simple walk to turn into a police visit. The person who called the cops wasn't even talking to the owner. She saw the dog from a distance and jumped to conclusions. She told the officers the dog seemed threatening. But when the police arrived, everything changed. The officers didn't see a wild beast. Instead, they saw a friendly dog who just wanted some pets and belly rubs. The dog was wagging its tail, happy to see new people, and clearly not aggressive at all. In fact, the cops laughed. They joked about how harmless the dog was. They even petted him right there on the spot. It was the exact opposite of what the caller expected. This moment reveals something important. It's easy to assume the worst when we don't know the full story. Fear can cloud judgment. And when we act out of fear, it can lead to misunderstandings, and sometimes even unfair treatment of innocent animals. But here's the thing, dogs don't come with warning labels. They don't send signals like humans do. Instead, they show how they feel through body language, which can be tricky to read if you're not familiar with dogs. A stiff stance might look scary, but maybe the dog is just curious or unsure. A deep bark might seem threatening, but it could just be excitement or a way to say hello. People often confuse big dogs or certain breeds with being dangerous. But that's not always true. Some of the sweetest dogs in the world look tough on the outside, and some small dogs can be protective or anxious, which might come off as aggressive to someone who doesn't know them. It all depends on the dog's personality and how they've been trained and socialized. This story also highlights how important it is to approach situations with an open mind. The officers showed calm and kindness when they arrived. Instead of reacting with force or fear, they took a moment to understand the dog. They let the dog show its true nature, and they responded with humor and care. It's a reminder that sometimes all it takes is a little patience and understanding to turn a tense moment into a positive one. Fear doesn't have to control how we react. And dogs, who depend on us for love and care, deserve a chance to be seen for who they really are. So, what can we learn from this? Well, it's natural to feel cautious around dogs we don't know. But jumping straight to calling the cops might not always be the best answer. Taking a moment to watch how the dog behaves, or asking the owner if the dog is friendly, can make a big difference. And if you're the dog owner, it helps to keep your dog calm and under control in public spaces to avoid misunderstandings. In the end, this story isn't just about one dog and one call to the police. It's about how sometimes fear and quick judgments get in the way of seeing the truth. It's about how kindness and calm can turn things around. And it's a little lesson for all of us about giving both dogs and people the benefit of the doubt. Because when the cops showed up, ready for a dangerous situation, they ended up laughing and petting a dog who just wanted to be loved. And that's a moment worth remembering. So, let's dive deeper into what actually happened that day. The dog owner was just out for a normal walk with their furry friend. Nothing unusual, no trouble, just a regular day. The dog, who was big and fluffy, was happily exploring the sidewalk, sniffing around, and sometimes stopping to look up at the owner with those big, trusting eyes. It was a kind of calm, relaxed walk that many dog lovers enjoy. But then, across the street, someone noticed a dog. This person, often called a Karen in these kinds of stories, felt uneasy. Maybe it was the size of the dog. Maybe it was the way the dog stood still for a moment. Or maybe the person just didn't like dogs. Whatever it was, it made her nervous enough to do something drastic. She called the cops. Now, calling the police over a dog that isn't acting aggressively might seem extreme, but it happens more than you think. People often don't understand dog behavior well, so they jump to conclusions. The caller described the dog as aggressive and threatening, painting a picture that made the situation sound dangerous. When the police arrived, they were ready to take control of a tense situation. But what they found was very different from the story they'd been told. The dog was sitting calmly by the owner's side, tail wagging gently. Instead of growling or barking aggressively, the dog gave a friendly bark that seemed more like a hello than a warning. The officers approached carefully, prepared for anything, but as soon as they got closer, they realized this dog was anything but dangerous. They began to laugh at how calm and sweet the dog was. One of the officers reached out and gave the dog a quick pet, and the dog leaned into it, happy for the attention. It was such a warm moment that the tension melted away instantly. The owner watched all this happen and felt a mix of relief and disbelief. How could someone think their gentle dog was a threat? But they also understood why it happened. People get scared, especially when they don't know what they are dealing with. It was a moment that showed just how powerful first impressions can be, even if those impressions are wrong. Interestingly, the dog's breed might have played a role in this misunderstanding. Some breeds get a bad reputation for being aggressive, even though they are often very friendly and loving. This dog breed might have looked intimidating to the person who called the cops, but in reality, the dog was just as sweet as any other. This kind of misunderstanding isn't rare. Many dog owners have stories about people judging their pets unfairly. Sometimes, people cross the street to avoid certain dogs. Other times, they warn their kids to stay away, or they make worried faces when a dog comes near. It's not the dog's fault, and it's not the owner's fault either. It's often just fear and a lack of knowledge. The police officers in this story handled everything perfectly. Instead of escalating the situation, they stayed calm and friendly. They showed respect for the dog and the owner, which helped everyone relax. It's a reminder of how important it is to approach situations like this with kindness. Another interesting part of the story is how the Karen reacted after the police interaction. When she saw how friendly the dog really was, her attitude shifted. Sometimes, when people see the truth up close, their fears dissipate. They realize they were wrong to judge so quickly. That moment can be a powerful lesson in not jumping to conclusions. It also highlights how dogs can help break down barriers between people. Even strangers can bond over a cute or friendly dog. Dogs have a special way of bringing joy and easing tension. That day, the dog didn't just win over the police officers. It changed the mood of the whole scene. For dog owners, this story might feel relatable. Many know the mix of pride and frustration that comes with having a misunderstood pet. On one hand, you love your dog and know how gentle they are. On the other, you sometimes wish the world could see them the same way. Moments like this show how patience and good behavior can help change perceptions. It's also a good reminder about being a responsible pet owner. Keeping your dog on a leash, making sure they are well behaved in public, and training them to stay calm around strangers can make a big difference. It helps others feel safe, and it helps avoid misunderstandings like the one in this story. The situation also teaches us about how powerful fear can be. When we're afraid, our brains want to protect us quickly. Sometimes that means reacting before thinking things through. It's a natural response, but it can lead to mistakes. Stories like this encourage us to slow down and see what's really going on before taking action. At the same time, it's okay to be cautious. Not every dog is friendly, and it's smart to be careful around animals you don't know. The key is to balance caution with understanding. Give dogs a chance to show who they really are before making a judgment. What makes this story stand out is the way it ends. Instead of conflict or fear, it turns into laughter and kindness. The police officers didn't just dismiss the situation. They showed real warmth to the dog. That's a feeling everyone can appreciate. It's also a reminder that even when things seem scary, there's often more to the story. Sometimes, what looks aggressive on the surface is really just a gentle heart waiting to be known. And when we take the time to understand, we open the door to better connections, not just with dogs, but with people too. This experience is one many dog owners hope for. where their pet is seen for the good they bring, not the misunderstanding they might face. And for those watching, it's a chance to think about how we react to situations that seem scary at first glance. Because sometimes all it takes is a little patience, a little kindness, and a moment to see the real story behind the surface. After the police left, something interesting happened. The story didn't just end with a funny moment. It started conversations. People began talking about how often dogs are misunderstood just because of how they look. It's not just about one dog or one call to the cops. It's about a bigger issue many dog owners face every day. When you think about it, dogs are part of our families. They are not just pets. They are friends, protectors, and companions. But unlike people, dogs can't explain themselves with words. Instead, they rely on body language and actions, which can sometimes be misread. That's why it's so important for everyone to learn more about dogs and how to understand them better. This story made a lot of people reflect on their own experiences. Maybe they remembered a time when they felt scared of a dog that actually turned out to be friendly. Or maybe they thought about a dog they have that people don't understand. It's easy to forget how much misunderstanding happens just because of appearances. Many dog owners shared stories online after hearing about this incident. Some talked about the nervous looks they get from strangers. Others shared how their dogs have been labeled aggressive just because of their size or breed. It's a common experience, and it shows how fear can spread without real reason. On the other hand, the police officer's reaction was a breath of fresh air. They showed how professionals can handle a situation with calmness and humor. Instead of taking the caller's word as a whole truth, they checked things out themselves. They didn't judge the dog before seeing its behavior up close. That's a lesson for all of us. Don't believe everything at first glance. The dog's behavior that day was a perfect example of how dogs can surprise us. Even though the dog looked aggressive to the caller, it was actually calm and loving. Dogs can sense when people are scared or angry, and sometimes they respond with friendliness to try and calm the situation. This dog did exactly that. It wagged its tail, leaned into the police officers, and showed its gentle side. That's something amazing about dogs. They have a way of breaking down walls. They can change how people feel just by being themselves. In this story, the dog helped everyone see past fear and misunderstanding. It reminded the police officers, and the person who called, that sometimes things are not what they seem. The incident also sparked some important conversations about breed stereotypes. Certain breeds get a bad reputation because of stories that make headlines. But breed alone doesn't define a dog's behavior. How a dog is raised, trained, and treated matters a lot more. This dog story helps show that it's unfair to judge a dog just by its breed or size. Dog lovers know this well. They know every dog is different, with its own personality and quirks. Some big dogs are gentle giants. Some small dogs can be protective and alert. What matters most is how we treat them and understand their signals. For people who don't have dogs, this story can be a chance to learn. It's a reminder to be curious and patient when meeting a new dog. Instead of being scared or making quick judgments, try to observe and ask questions. Most dogs want to be friends. They don't want to scare anyone. The story also shows how important it is for dog owners to be responsible. Keeping a dog on a leash, making sure it's trained to listen, and being aware of how others might feel around your pet can prevent misunderstandings. It helps everyone feel safe and comfortable. After all, a dog's behavior can change depending on the situation. A dog that's playful at home might feel nervous around strangers. Or a dog might act protective if it senses danger. Understanding these signs can help avoid problems before they start. This story became popular because it's relatable and heartwarming. People love hearing about moments when kindness wins over fear. It's a reminder that even small actions, like petting a dog or sharing a laugh, can change a whole situation. And it's not just about dogs. This story touches on something bigger, how we treat others when we don't fully understand them. Sometimes, fear and assumptions make us act before we think. But taking a moment to learn and listen can make a big difference. That's why this story struck a chord with so many viewers. It's a simple moment, but it says a lot about patience, kindness, and seeing the truth beneath the surface. For dog owners, it's a hopeful story. It shows that even when others don't understand, there are people who do, and that sometimes things turn out better than expected. For everyone else, it's a gentle nudge to be open-minded and kind to both dogs and people. The police officer's reaction also gave hope. It showed how authority figures can help in tough situations by staying calm and friendly. Their kindness helped cool down what could have been a scary moment for everyone involved. Stories like this remind us why dogs are called man's best friend. They bring joy, laughter, and sometimes unexpected lessons about how we see the world. As more people shared this story, it inspired others to think twice before judging a dog, or anyone, by appearance alone. It became a conversation starter about respect, understanding, and empathy. This story is a great example of how even simple moments can teach us valuable lessons. A dog wagging its tail, police officers laughing, and a misunderstanding turned into a heartwarming memory. All these things remind us to be patient and open-hearted. It also shows how powerful kindness can be. When we choose to react with calmness and care, even the toughest situations can change for the better. So many viewers connected with the story because it feels real. It's not a fairy tale or an exaggeration. It's a snapshot of everyday life where something unexpected happens, and it brings people closer. And that's the magic of this story. A little misunderstanding, a lot of kindness, and a dog who stole the show. One thing this story really highlights is how much power perception has over us. We all see the world through our own eyes and experiences. When someone sees a big dog, they might think danger. But someone else might see the same dog and think friendly giant. It's all about what we expect and what we know. This shows how important it is to understand fear and where it comes from. Sometimes, fear is learned. Maybe someone had a bad experience with a dog before, or maybe they grew up hearing stories about dangerous dogs. These experiences shape how they react when they see a dog that looks a certain way. It's not always easy to change those feelings, even when the dog is calm and kind. That's why education matters so much. The more people learn about dog behavior, the more they realize how much goes on beneath the surface. A dog's body language is like its own language. It tells us when the dog is happy, scared, or relaxed. But if you don't know how to read those signs, it's easy to misunderstand. For example, a dog showing its teeth might be warning you to back off, but a relaxed dog with a gentle smile and wagging tail is usually friendly. Sometimes dogs get nervous and freeze, which can look like they are tense or aggressive, but really they are just unsure. Without knowing this, people can get scared and react the wrong way. This story is a perfect reminder of how important it is to stay calm and patient when meeting new dogs. It's also a chance to reflect on how we respond to things that seem scary or unknown. Reacting with fear can make situations worse, but reacting with kindness and understanding can turn things around. The cops who came to check on the dog did exactly that. Instead of jumping to conclusions or reacting with suspicion, they took a moment to assess the dog's behavior. They gave the dog a chance to show who he really was. Their calm and friendly approach made all the difference. This kind of response is something we can all learn from, whether it's dealing with dogs, people, or any situation that feels uncomfortable at first. Taking a breath, looking a little closer, and giving someone or something a chance to show their true colors often changes the whole story. The story also touches on how important trust is between dog owners, strangers, and even authorities like the police. Trust means believing that the dog owner has control of their pet and that the dog isn't a threat. When trust is missing, misunderstandings happen faster. For dog owners, building that trust can mean a lot of things. Training their dog well, keeping the dog on a leash in public, and making sure their pet behaves politely around new people. It also means being aware of how the dog's appearance might affect others and trying to calm any fears. For people who don't know dogs well, building trust might mean asking questions before reacting, or slowly approaching a dog instead of avoiding it or assuming the worst. Sometimes just asking, "Is your dog friendly?" can open up a conversation and ease worries. This story is a gentle reminder that relationships, whether with dogs or people, are built on communication and understanding. We often make snap judgments because it's easier or faster, but taking a moment to listen and observe changes everything. It also makes us think about kindness. How often do we meet something or someone unfamiliar and choose fear over kindness? This story shows how choosing kindness instead can lead to laughter, smiles, and new friendships. The dog in this story became a little hero without even trying. Just by being himself, friendly, calm, and loving, he changed how everyone felt. That's the magic of dogs. They don't need words to teach us lessons about empathy, patience, and acceptance. Sometimes, dogs remind us what it means to be truly present. They don't hold grudges or judge others. They live in the moment and show love freely. Watching that dog win over the police officers with tail wags and happy eyes is a perfect example of that. This story also opens the door to talk about how we handle fear in other parts of life. When we're scared, our brains want to protect us. That's natural. But fear doesn't have to control our actions. We can choose to pause, breathe, and respond thoughtfully instead. That choice is what made the difference that day. The officer's calm, friendly reaction turned a potentially tense moment into something positive. It's a lesson for all of us on how to face fears and misunderstandings. It's easy to think about this as just a dog story. But really, it's about how we see each other and how we treat those who seem different or unknown. When we look closer and choose kindness, the world feels a little safer and a lot friendlier. Every day, people and dogs face moments like this, where a quick look could lead to fear, but a patient look leads to understanding. This story is a beautiful example of the power of seeing beyond first impressions. And that power can change lives, starting with something as simple as a wagging tail and a gentle touch. After that day, the story spread in the neighborhood and even online. People loved hearing how something that could have been scary ended up being so warm and funny. It made a lot of folks think about their own fears and judgments, especially when it comes to dogs. Many shared their own experiences, some happy and some not so much. But the message was clear: dogs aren't always what people expect. One thing that stood out was how much dogs depend on us to speak for them. They can't explain why they're sitting still or why they bark once and then stop. So, it's up to owners and others to help show who these dogs really are. That means training, yes, but also patience and care in public. In this story, the dog's owner played a big role. They stayed calm, knowing their dog wasn't aggressive. Instead of getting upset or defensive when the police arrived, they stayed friendly and cooperative. That attitude helped the police officers see the truth right away. Sometimes, how the owner reacts sets the whole tone. There's something else here about how we judge safety. A lot of times, it's about fear of the unknown. People are more comfortable when they know what to expect. So, when they see a dog they don't know, especially one that looks big or strong, their first thought might be to protect themselves and others. But protection doesn't always mean fear. It can mean curiosity and respect too. When people take a moment to ask questions or watch closely, they can learn a lot. That moment of curiosity instead of fear can change how we all experience a situation. The police officers in this story showed this perfectly. They didn't assume the worst. They investigated calmly. When they saw the dog wasn't a threat, they relaxed and even shared a laugh. That moment showed that kindness and a little bit of humor can break down tension in the best way. What's even more interesting is how this story connects to bigger ideas about community. When neighbors, police, and dog owners work together, it creates a safer and friendlier space for everyone. It's about trust and respect, not just between people, but with animals too. Dogs often act as bridges in communities. They bring people out of their homes and into the streets, creating chances to meet and chat. Even the most shy or reserved people can open up when talking about their pets. This story is a great example of how a dog can change the mood of a whole place. Also, the reactions of different people in this situation remind us how important it is to listen and understand before acting. The woman who called the police was scared. Her reaction was based on what she thought was true. But once she saw the reality, her attitude softened. That change shows how understanding can grow when we're willing to see things from another perspective. Sometimes fear is just a signal to pay attention, not to panic. If we respond to fear with open eyes and calm hearts, it often leads to better outcomes. This story encourages everyone to practice that, to respond thoughtfully, not react impulsively. The dog, of course, was a real star here. He didn't need to do anything special. Just being himself, a loving, well-behaved dog, was enough. His calm nature helped everyone relax and reminded us how animals can teach us about patience and kindness. It's easy to forget how much animals depend on us to keep them safe and understood. They trust us to protect them from harm and to help others see their true nature. Stories like this remind dog owners why their role is so important. Meanwhile, for those who don't have pets, the story offers a chance to rethink how they view dogs in general. Instead of seeing a big dog as scary, maybe they can start to see it as a friend in disguise. The more people can make that shift, the easier it is for dogs and owners to live happily in shared spaces. There's also a lesson here about power. Power of kindness over fear, power of calm over panic, power of understanding over judgment. It shows that small actions, like petting a dog or smiling, can make a huge difference. This story isn't just about one dog or one day. It's about a way of living with empathy and openness. It invites us all to be better neighbors, better pet owners, and better humans. Because when we choose kindness, the world changes for the better. The laughter of the police officers, the wagging tail of the dog, and the changing heart of the woman who called them all came together in a moment that could have gone very differently. But it didn't. It became a memory of warmth, connection, and a little bit of magic. Moments like these might seem small, but they add up. They build trust and friendship. They remind us that behind every fear is a story waiting to be understood. And in a world that sometimes feels rushed and divided, those stories are more important than ever.